Good morning, everybody. Continue to fellowship. You have about 5 minutes or so, but I'd like to invite all of our new faculty and staff who were hired since the last convocation in August to come and take a seat here on the second row for us. So if you were not at the August convocation, this is your first convocation. If you would come and join us here.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to 2020. I'm going to date myself, but I still remember in high school hearing the song in the year 2525, if man is still alive. And we're close, we're still alive, and that to me is a very good thing as we start this new semester. As always at Convocation, we start off with awards and recognitions, and we have two specific awards of real significance that I'm really delighted to announce today. The first one is our Regents Professor Award. I can't even begin to talk about the significance of this award to faculty and to our university. The Regents Award is only given to faculty in the system who've been a full professor for at least 5 years, so a minimum of 5 years. They also have to have exemplary teaching, service, and scholarship that makes a significant impact on the university, the region, the state, and national or international level. This year, there are only 13 faculty members in the entire Texas A&M University system who were selected for a Regents professorship. And for the first time in our history, we have our first Regents professor. There will be a very formal ceremony hosted by the Board of Regents in May, where all the Regents professors come. It's a real fancy dinner. You get to go up on stage with the chancellor as he tries to talk about your scholarship of significance, which is always very interesting, especially when he gets into the really technical science ones. The Regent professor gets a beautiful shadow box, a medallion, and a letter from the chancellor, certificate, and a very significant stipend. And this Regents Award has been underwritten by the Beck family, so we are just so thankful for them. And it is my distinct honor to recognize Dr. Jody Fry. Why don't you come on up, Jody? Yeah, come on up. We want to take a picture. Should we just go here? I think I wore the suit. Congratulations. I wish I had a certificate to give you, Dr. Fry, but once again, that's done by the Board of Regents. So it is coming, sir. Checks in the mail, yes. The other significant award that we have received since our last convocation is from the All-In Campus Democracy Challenge. We received the Gold Seal designation. The All-In Democracy Challenge is a campus program across the entire nation, and it involves well over 1,000 campuses that are getting the students to be engaged in the democratic process. It's nonpartisan, so we're not talking Democratic, Republican, we're talking about nonpartisan, getting engaged in community engagement and getting engaged in the voting process. You might have remembered the last time I talked about this, we received the Bronze Award. We have actually jumped up 2 levels to the Gold Award, where you have between 40 and 49% of your students who not only registered, but actually participated in voting this year. Dr. Close, I know you did a great story on this. It's also on the university website if you're interested in hearing more about that. But we had 45.8% of our students vote in a non-presidential election, which is really huge. And I'd just like Brandon to come on up just so we can thank you and your staff. We don't have anything for you, but just come on up for a picture.
And something like this is not just student affairs. It's the faculty, the staff who have really helped us and get engaged with us. And just as Dr. Pegg said, I think one of the reasons why this is so important is it's a non-presidential election. And so one of the data points we use to really measure civic mindedness is how active are our students in the political process in terms of voting from year to year. And this is one of those important data points.
Great. Having that engaged, informed citizenship is so important for our region and our nation. So thank you very much, and to all student affairs and all the faculty and all our students who were involved in this initiative. So the next level is platinum. That's a top level at 50 percentage points. So we are very close, so maybe we can squeak up to that very top level. All right, now's my favorite part of Convocation, where we get to introduce all the new faculty and staff. And so I will turn this over to Dr. Kirk.
Associate Provost Extraordinary. Okay, so thanks to the provost for allowing me this incredible opportunity to introduce our new faculty staff, and well, students are coming next week, so we won't worry about them just yet. If you would all come, and we were going to do this up here, but unfortunately we have a lectern in the way, so if you'd all just kind of line up here, and we could do it the Army way by height, or do some facing movements and do some, no, I have to say, I'm a retired sergeant major, so I have this ugly habit of trying to control people's lives. The provost gave me this opportunity last year, and we had a couple of birthdays, and we all broke out into song. So, any birthdays before? Okay, at least not that you'll admit to. That's okay. At least that's okay. Yes, ma'am.
If they had a birthday now, they would not tell.
Well, it was kind of weird because the one gentleman or the one lady said, "Today's my birthday." I think she's actually sitting right over there. And then we got down to this end, and we had this guy that was this incredible singer. I had to take, the opportunity was there. I had to go for it. No singers? Okay. So the other thing I reflect on is that the first time we ever had this convocation was fall of 2013, 14, whatever it was, 14, I guess. And all the new people actually filled this entire row here. It was an amazing event. And actually, is Jeremy Berry here? He's goofing off. He actually told us a story about leaving the house to come here and his daughter grabbing him, saying that he couldn't be a warrior because he didn't have the ability to do that. But so I've outed Jeremy on that. So anyway, so what we'd like you to do is the Reader's Digest version, position, your name, position you're coming to, Reader's Digest of your life a little bit, and the provost and the president and others always like to hear some some little known thing about you. Keep it PG or G. Thank you very much. We'll start with this.
Thank you.
We'll start with the way it should go.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Chris Poole. I'm a new visiting faculty in exercise physiology and human performance. I am a native Central Texan, born and raised in Belton. Moved around quite a bit and have found my way back home. Just bought a house, still being built, so excited about that. Research emphasis kind of in the exercise and nutritional interventions and their effects on health and performance. Unique thing about me, I am an outdoor enthusiast at heart. My favorite place to be is on a trail in the woods or on a stream with a rod in my hand. So look forward to meeting you all.
Hello. I'm Gina Appolito. I'm an administrative associate in the College of Business. I'm originally from Florida, so this cold weather is no fun for me. And my fun fact is I'm getting married in 38 days. Ah!
Good morning. My name is Sammy Johnson. I go by Sam. I'm the new head of public services in your library. Originally from Ohio. One unique thing about me is I like to travel.
Good morning. My name is Sierra. I am the website designer. I work with Ralph and also Clifton and Chris and Jason in enrollment management. I spent about 7 years in San Marcos going to school and then also working at Texas State University. A weird fact about me is I've never been on a roller coaster. I'm actually extremely afraid of heights. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Natalie. I work in human resources. I'm the human resources assistant. Let's see, I am a military brat, so I am from everywhere. I've lived on both coasts. Fun fact is, it's been a year now that I've been back in the States. We moved back from Germany last year.
Hi, I'm Gretchen Eskenazi. I'm the assistant to the dean for the College of Education. And my interesting fact is I teach English as a second language to Chinese children online. So I have taught classes to Lord Voldemort and Spider-Man because they get to pick their own names.
Hi, good morning. I'm Angie Fair, and I'm the new Career Services Coordinator, focusing on career readiness with our students. And I am a military spouse, and we've been married 13 years, and we've moved 7 times.
Hello, I am Carla Perez, and I am the new Student Programs Coordinator. And I am in charge of the Blue Coats, and my Blue Coats are here, so they're over there. Fun fact about me is I'm from El Salvador, and I didn't speak English till I was like 8 years old, so.
Hi, I'm Fran Hoffman, and I'm the Assistant Director of the Community Counseling and Family Therapy Center, long name. And I'll be working with Dr. Norris. I don't know how fun this is, but I've been in this area for a long time. I'm originally from New Orleans, then Arlington, but I've been here for about 30-something years. I worked with that guy for a long time, and I'm still here and came back, so what else? You are. I guess that's it. Thank you.
Hello all, good morning. My name is Maria. I'm in the registrar's office with Ms. Carolyn Williams, Administrative Associate. I am from Raritan Island, Honduras, Central America, but I was living up in DC area. I got dragged here to Killeen. And one fact of me, you will find me on the dance floor teaching salsa. Yeah.
So I actually spent some time visiting Comayagua and a few other places in Honduras. And 31 years in the Army, moved 26 times. So now you have a challenge. Okay, thank you all for, please do not move. Oh, okay. Please have a seat. Thank you very much.
Let's give one last round of applause to our most recent warriors. All right, now I have the pleasure of having Dr. Carter Horn.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to 2020, the start of the spring semester. Before we get started, I'm going to turn it over to 2 of my employees to give some updates in their area. But I also want to take this opportunity, most of you probably already know him by now, but Ted Reynolds, who is new to the campus with SSC, replacing Omar Villafane. He was here since August, but was not able to join us for the fall convocation, but he and his team do an outstanding job keeping the campus at its best, and so I just want to acknowledge him. And at this time, I'm going to call on IT services to come up, and then after that, HR.
Good morning. Sorry. Good morning, everyone. I'm happy to be here with you all and just give you just a few updates from the IT department. While Courtney's bringing these up, if you recall last fall, we talked about Duo because last year we implemented Duo along with the entire system for things like Workday and Canopy and AggieBuy, those things you get to through the SSO portal at the system office. So most of you are pretty familiar with that. That was put into place last spring. They required that as part of their system-wide security protocols, if you will. And if you recall, last fall, we mentioned that the next step would be to implement this on our systems. So Courtney, yeah, so if you're not familiar with our systems yet, if you're new, we have a lot of things here at A&M Central Texas that belong to us. The authentication for those systems does not have Duo turned on yet. But we are in the process. We've tested that out on most of those systems through the fall. We're just about ready to go live and roll that out. So we wanted to give you a heads up. That's coming soon. There will be lots of documentation and information sent out on how to do that. The good news is it's the same Duo application that you already use for SSO and Workday and things like that. It'll just be adding another application on top of the Duo app, if you will. So enough on that, but other than the fact to just point out that that will be coming this spring semester. Our plan is to turn it on as an opt-in, so we won't require everyone to use that yet, but we will ask you to go ahead and adopt it when it's convenient for you and try to get everybody to opt into it ahead of time. At some point, the system has made it clear that we need to require it, so there will be a date at some point in the future when Duo on our services like Canvas, Office 365, MyCT, and things like that will be required. But coming soon, so that's something to look forward to for this spring. On top of that, I'm going to turn the time over to Courtney for this. Because of Duo and some other things that we're rolling out, we really felt like we needed to enhance some of the support services we have. So I'm going to turn it over to Courtney Dobbs, who's if you don't know Courtney, she's the Assistant Director for IT Services, and she's got a few remarks about that.
Thank you, Todd. Good morning, everybody. So as we talked about in some of the past convocations, we've been working for the past year to establish a service desk, and I'm happy to announce that it is now open. It is located in the IT department, which is in Founders Hall in room 114. Like I said, we've spent some time working on it. Primarily, we have relied on the Help Desk Central at Texas A&M and College Station to provide our Tier 1 support for all of our faculty, staff, and students. We now have come to the point where we need to expand it to have a place on site to be able to provide face-to-face support for those that need it. And we are going to continue to keep our working relationship with HDC because they are able to provide a 24-hour support. We do have plans to bring phone support online later on this spring, but for now it's just mostly face-to-face, come on by. And take the next one. And there's some of the services that we provide, of course, assisting everybody with their accounts, password resets, connecting to Wi-Fi, all that kind of stuff. That's what we're there to help you do and get it accomplished. In addition to that, we will be there to provide support for the Duo, as Todd just mentioned. And then another kind of big change is that we are now going to be the ones providing the ID cards. So students will now come down to the service desk to get their ID cards issued. We've made one major improvement, well, no, I wouldn't say improvement, I guess in addition to the ID cards, students can now use it to set up with the WEPA printing stations and be able to use those cards for that. And we do have plans to bring staff ID cards online very soon. And we're there for everything else that you might have questions for. If we don't know the answer, we will find it or get you to the person that has those answers for you. For my name, yes, Lisa. This is just simply, instead of students going to the business office, they're going to come down to us. We're just picking right up where the business office has always been done. So new students come in to get their cards. If a student lost a card or needs a reprint, they come to us as well. It's all housed with us. So the lovely ladies down at the business office will redirect them down to the service desk.
One add-on on to that is we did discuss not charging students who want a new card just for WEPA purposes. We won't charge them the replacement.
Exactly.
I have one other quick update. As those of you who have been here before, I always have to bring up information security. So as you may have heard, things have been a little tense lately over the past few days because of the Middle East. To be honest, have things really changed dramatically? No. Do we all continue to need to be vigilant? Yes. There really hasn't been a huge change in the amount of phishing emails and things like that. But on the other hand, there's certainly an enhanced risk at this point. And we know for a fact, I think I mentioned it last fall, but we know for a fact that this time of the semester, they do target universities, and in August they target K-12s because students are coming back, parents are getting accounts set up, things like that. And we know for a fact that this time of year is a little bit of a heightened risk no matter what's going on in the Middle East. So please keep your eyes and ears open for things like that. I did put a few things on here, and this was based on something that was just sent out recently by the Federal Security Office. And really, it kind of just emphasizes some of the kind of high-level points we need to ensure that everybody's at least aware of. We mentioned Duo earlier. Duo is just, it's not a catch-all. It's not going to solve every problem, but it certainly does protect our usernames and passwords because they have to have both your phone plus your username and password. So it's certainly an enhancement. But we do know of at least one other school where an employee was able to be hacked because someone knew their username and password. The employee got the Duo message and just said, "Oh, sure," and let them in. You know, I mean, so you have to be careful. If you're not logging in, don't click on the Duo app and let them in. So it does happen. So you do have to be aware of things like that. Yeah, you have the phone number. Well, they didn't even have that. They just clicked Duo, and the person wasn't logging in and said, "Oh, Duo, sure, let them in." You know, so you have to kind of think, and that's the hard part. We're all busy. We all have multiple things going on. So just kind of keep that extra flag up and make sure you're watching for those. The other thing I mentioned up here is Simplicity. If you're not using Simplicity, it's an add-on service. We can, if you don't have Simplicity, we can be used to back up, especially your critical files, because it puts them offline. And that way, if your computer happened to be hacked or taken over by ransomware, Simplicity keeps backup copies up in the cloud, so it's very easy for us to restore your files and not have to deal with the ransomware. So just things like that. If you have especially important documents and things like that, contact the help desk, put in a SysAid ticket. We're happy to work with you on things like Simplicity. Just gives us an extra level of protection. So with that, I think I'm going to wrap up by just saying, and on top of that, you know, kind of please do not hesitate to report things. You know, that's an important, we have lots of tools that report and log incidents and things like that, but we're still looking for that human reporting level. Don't hesitate. Don't think that we've heard it all. We may not know what's going on, so please report it. If it's just an email that you want to forward and say, "Hey, could somebody check this out?" We have a new email address that's up above there. ISO just stands for Information Security Office. We monitor that. We'll look at that and get back to you with "Oh, that's probably all clear, looks legit," or "Oh, let us check that out and we'll get back to you." Or whatever you did, you didn't click on that, right? You know, we'll be able to respond to you. You can still do SysAid tickets, but if it's just kind of a query, feel free to send it to that email, and we're happy to work with you on that. Again, thank you all. Welcome back, and we're here to help. Thanks.
Good morning. Just wanted a few reminders really this morning. Right now, our office is in the process of entering a lot of data into Workday, and just want to remind department heads, deans, chairs, those of you who are authorized approvers to check Workday at least twice a day. We do need these processes to run through Workday very quickly because the Martin Luther King Day holiday is going to have an impact on payroll processing. So it's we're gonna need all approving done by January 15th, which is a little bit sooner than the normal process because of the holiday. So please be diligent and check Workday at least twice a day and review and approve quickly. If you're not going to be in the office, please delegate to an administrative assistant or someone else who can be responsible for that task in your absence. Again, if you don't approve timesheets and compensation changes and so on in Workday, your employees will not be paid in a timely manner. And that's very important to us, and I'm sure it is to you as well. So we want to make sure that we don't see these errors and have these issues come up in February. So please be mindful of that. And again, January 15th is the deadline, which means all approvers have to approve that one action by January 15th. So again, please check Workday at least twice a day. The other change is in regards to your benefits. So for those of you who are enrolled in the medical plan, there is a new two-step program this year to receive your $30 wellness credit for you and your eligible spouse for the 2021 year. The deadline remains the same as June 30th, 2020, so please do not wait until the last minute. Through the two-step wellness program, members engage in health-promoting activities based on unique member risk and identified benefit interests via a personalized checklist. This may include the annual wellness exam, breast cancer screening, colon cancer screening, Naturally Slim, and more. Catapult will be on campus at the end of the month for on-campus wellness exams and again in May. These slots do fill up very quickly, so when you see those emails and you're interested in signing up for that wellness exam, please do so quickly. There are My eVive flyers you can pick up outside on one of those podiums over there for more information, or stop by our office or call us or email us. Debbie Morrison is our wellness coordinator, so she's your point of contact for all things related to wellness and benefits. So far, she's doing an excellent job. Thank you, Debbie, for our wellness program. But again, in order to get this $30 credit, you have to complete those two steps in My eVive this year. So it's very important. And again, that deadline is June 30th. Thank you.
I'll just talk really loud.
No,
Okay.
there you go.
This will be quick. I just wanted to remind everyone, make sure everyone is aware that we now have the ability to accept credit cards online and also in like a current event kind of thing where you have people coming in and need to pay by credit card. So if you want to set something up online, that would be like for a conference or if you're selling something. There's a form within the Budgets and Accounting Canvas community that you can fill out. If you want to do it not online but in person, you'll need to talk to either me or Arnetta Brown in the business office or Deborah Davis in IT, and we can help you through that process. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. I think Chief.
Good morning, everybody. For those of you that are new and don't know me, I'm Charlie Rodriguez. I'm the Director of Public Safety and the Chief of Police. A couple of things I wanted to talk to you about that are very critical to the university is Clery. Clery compliance and also CSAs. And I'll get more into CSAs as we go through this because it can be critical for everybody in reference to that. Go ahead, Andrew. So this is the purpose of why Clery exists. It started back in the late 90s and enacted in the late 90s in reference to a student that was murdered in her dorm and raped in her dorm. I'm not going to go into all the details. I just want to hit some high points. But this is why Clery exists today. Because of an incident that happened on a campus, and we want to make sure that doesn't happen again. Go ahead. This is the purpose of Clery, is to ensure that we have a safe campus. And also, again, it's mandated by the federal government for us to do that. There are a lot of requirements for us to collect statistics, which we'll talk about in a moment, but it's also to give family members, fathers, wives, and spouses, things of that nature, the critical statistical information on crime within their campus so that they can make an informed decision on whether they want their child to go to that institution or not because of crime statistics. I can tell you ours is extremely low, mostly because we don't have dorms yet, which I'm sure will come in the future, which will change our world completely. But our crime stats are extremely low. Go ahead, Andrew. Okay. What are the requirements for clery? The first thing, and again, I'll get more into depth about this, is CSAs, Campus Security Authorities. Those are individuals that collect crime stats and provide that to the university. The other thing we have to do is we have to provide our community with emergency notifications and timely warnings in reference to an issue that may be going on campus or in the very vicinity of the campus. So we want to get that information out to you very quickly, and that's one of the other critical things that's important to us. As I already mentioned, classify and count crime statistics. We have to do that within UPD. We also have to go out to local police departments like Bell County, the city of Killeen. We even have to go to out-of-state local law enforcement agencies when students travel and they stay in a hotel. We have to contact that local agency, get that crime stats, because we have to report that within our ASR, annual security report, that's required by the by Clery. We also have to publish that ASR by the 1st of October every year. Now that's a solid deadline. It has to be published by 1 October or we will get fined for that. In addition to that, we have to submit the crime stats online to the Department of Education. And if we don't meet these things, and I'll talk about the penalties here in a moment, it could be a severely heavy fine for the university. So we want to make sure we stay on top of these things and make sure that that doesn't happen to us. Next, Andrew. As I mentioned, one fine is $57,317. So if you get 10 fines, think of how much money the university loses. It's a lot of money. And again, if you go look on the internet at Penn State in the state of Michigan, you'll see they lost millions of dollars. So we want to make sure that that doesn't happen to us. So that's how critical Clery is, and the reporting of crime statistics to us is very important. The other thing that could happen, because we signed an agreement with the Department of Education, is we could also potentially be limited, suspended, or terminated from getting Title IV funding, which is student aid. So again, it's very critical that we do these crime stats and that we get this ASR out and that it's as accurate as possible so it doesn't affect us in any manner. Next, Andrew. Okay, getting to the fun part now, CSAs. Due to the fact that we have such high fines that could be assessed on us by the Department of Education, we have decided that all faculty and staff will currently be a CSA, because we have to list in the ASR every person individually that's a CSA. So to make it easier to determine who is and who is not, because that's a heck of a tracking nightmare, everyone's going to be classified as a CSA. It makes it simpler for us in the ASR and easier for us to track the training, because you have to have annual training. So we're not tracking down folks and saying, did you complete your training? Did you not complete your training? And again, one person that doesn't complete it could cost us $57,000. And one person we don't list in the ASR could cost us $57,000. So again, as you get to each one of those things, it mounts up very quickly as to, in the fines and things of that nature. So to save us some money, to kind of save us some headaches, we have decided that every faculty and staff member on campus will be a CSA from this point forward. So look in train tracks. You'll be notified in email that you'll get a request for training and train tracks, and that has to be completed within a very short time period. So we're going to get that out to you very shortly and make sure that that gets done so it's easy for us to track. So next question is, what are your responsibilities as a CSA? I'm not going to go into all the details because the training will cover that. I'm going to try and hit the highlights for you because it is in a very in-depth process. But the key thing is that you have to immediately report any crime allegations that someone tells you, even if they're not associated with the campus or if they don't want it reported to the university police department. If someone comes up to you and says, this happened to me, you need to report it. I don't need to know the details about the incident if they don't want it reported to local police, but I do need to know that the incident occurred. So I don't need a lot of details with names and things of that nature. And again, we'll give you a form that you need to fill out to submit that back to us so you can either, if you don't get any, that's okay. Just check the box, put your initials, and you're done. If no one ever reports any crimes to you, and that could possibly happen. But again, we want to make sure that we get this documentation to us so that we can do it. Again, as I mentioned already, you have to complete CSA train annually. Again, we're going to be collecting the stacks. And again, as I mentioned, even if the person doesn't want it reported, we need it reported. And if they want help, you can tell them where to go. Okay? If they just want to go to counseling, you can send them upstairs at the counseling center. If they don't want to report the crime, you can send them and get them help that they needed to make sure that they're taken care of. Okay? So I don't want to go into a lot of the details about the training because it is very in-depth and is very thorough, but you will be getting that within the train tracks. Next. The things we don't want you to do. We don't want you to investigate. Okay? Please leave that to us. We don't want you going out there trying to find a bad guy because that's what we're here for. We don't want you to determine whether the crime really occurred or not. If somebody says it happened, it potentially happened. Okay, so please tell us about it, and we'll look into it. Don't try and convince them to contact us again if they don't want to, because that's a very personal thing, and they may feel you're pressuring them, and we don't want to get into that. If they want the crime reported, please send them to us. If they don't want it reported, just document, again, the date and time that the incident occurred, and we'll give you all that information, and then get that to us. Again, if you hear something in the hallway, or if you're out and about and someone's having a conversation about a crime, we don't want you to report that either, because that's all hearsay. And that doesn't hold any water in a crime or court or anything of that nature. We need to know from the person directly whether it occurred or not so that we can look into it. If it's hearsay, we don't need to know it. Yes, sir. No, because again, what you're asking me about, I'm sorry? Well, Title IX is different. Yes, under Title IX, we need to know that. But again, that is more of a compliance issue than it is for us. If the person doesn't want to report and investigate that they've been raped, we're not going to do that. But we do need to know that you were told that they were involved in a sexual assault of some sort. Okay? So we just need to know that the incident occurred, but then again, you have to, again, tell the Title IX folks, which is a different avenue. So there's two different avenues here. Okay? Does that answer your question? Yes, ma'am.
I think Dr. Dixon actually is referring to the new system policy that requires any faculty or staff to report any Title IX violation. If you don't, you might be at risk of losing your position. So Dr. Dixon, they are, one is system policy, and this is exclusively the Clear Act. So while they seem a little different, they're both equally important to do. It would, because I'm sure then that the chief staff would report it to the compliance office.
Yeah, we would.
They'll take care of it.
If we actually have a crime reported to us, we will report that to compliance. Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. You have to report that to us. No, correct. Because again, you're hearing someone else say that, and the person that it happened to may not be there, and they may not want it reported. Okay, so if you're reporting somebody on a third-party hearsay, we may have an issue there, and we don't want to get into that. Right, it can go her way, but not to us for accounting crime stats with on campus. Anything else? Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. I couldn't hear the question. Yes. Yes. If you hear something and they don't want it reported to the PD, yes, you still report it to Title IX if it's a Title IX issue. Correct. But again, and let me give a rephrase about reporting. If they don't want it reported as a crime for us to investigate, we don't need to know. But you as a CSA need to document that you were told about the incident, but they don't want the police department involved, and then it also will go to Title IX. Does that make sense? Anything else? Again, a lot of this will be inside your CSA training. I don't want, like I said, I don't want to go in depth because this can, as you can tell, this can get very detailed. And I don't want to chew up a lot of the time because I only have 15 minutes. So, yes. If they go to Title IX and they tell Title IX folks they don't want it reported, they're not going to tell us. Title IX will take care of their piece. Anything else? The other thing we don't want you to do is trying to apprehend the person. Don't tackle them and throw them down, put handcuffs on them. Okay? So we want you to stay away from that at all possible. All right? Next slide. Okay, anything else? I tried to make that as quick as possible, as painless as possible, but I know it's a lot within the CSA requirements, and we will cover that, like I said, in the training. And if you have any questions in reference to it, please don't hesitate to contact myself or Sherry Doggett, my admin assistant. She is our Clery person on campus, and trust me, she's going through a very intense course to be certified as a Clery compliance officer, which is going to be a 2-year ordeal for her, but it'll be really good for the university so that we have a Clery compliance officer that's certified through NICAP, which will do good for us should we ever get audited by Department of Education. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. It's, as you can tell, we have really entered a period of compliance and accountability, and I expect it to continue in this direction for quite a while. Now, my pleasure to turn the podium over to Dr. Porter for the Office of Research and Economic Development.
Welcome and welcome back. My name's Russ Porter, and as the provost said, I also like to say who I am, I guess, and get that out there. In terms of what we're going to go over, we're going to talk about the Office of Research and Economic Development, and before I start, though, we like to have quizzes in research, and so I'm going to ask you a question. Why do we do research? Yes, we're going to have a word count. Anybody? Because inquiring minds want to know. And that's the quiz question. What did he just say? A lot of politics and issues and what else? Okay. Funding. Go for the funding. That's always nice, those indirects. That's right. All right, well, we'll continue. So here's some pictures that might help. So these are some things that others and A&M Central Texas have done some research on. We didn't start over on the left-hand side too much. Maybe the historians have done that. But if we are rigorous, parsimonious, and succinct in our answer, here it is. We're improving life. And so how does the Office of Research and Economic Development improve life? Well, we work on three primary things: research, economic development, and our university research park that we've been talking about for the last year or so, and we're going to continue to talk about it. I'm going to start with economic development and university research. So in our economic development area, we have quite a few programs. I'm going to touch on just a few of these. We have a University Economic Development Council that we work with the community on. And in the past, I've talked about our first choice EDD program in higher education and K through 12 that we actually are supporting Texas A&M Commerce. If you're interested in that, let me know. I can give you some contact information. We are also starting to plan for a potential EDD in research and testing here at A&M Central Texas based on a request from the Army Operational Test Command. We're in the very preliminary stages working with academic affairs, looking at, can we actually do this? We've been helping with continuing education, and Dr. Richard Schilke's office has put a lot of infrastructure in place for that, and we hope to be rolling that out this year. And another area that's at the national level is research support for what's called the National College Promise Program. Talked about that in the last two convocations. And we now have our own College Promise program in Central Texas called the Central Texas College Promise Program. And without going into great depth on that, we have an individual who is a staff member, Sanfrene Britt, and I have to put, she's acting in her private capacity with the CTC-PP for obvious reasons in terms of time and what she does both in her office and externally. But she has created a group of individuals that has joined the National College Promise program, and next week we're actually going up to work with them. And those of you who know Martha Cantor, former Undersecretary of Education, will be there and looking at ways that Texas is bringing the College Promise program to the local areas to help individuals have better access to college. And if you've ever met Dr. Cantor in her presentation, her first slide says, 100 years ago, we made high school free. It's now time to make college free. And so we're looking at ways that we can do this, and our university is fortunate enough to have the national study on the predictors of those College Promise programs. So more to follow in that area. We recently had a meeting with Texas Engineering Experiment Station, or TEAS, on workforce development research. And we're going to do more in this area to look at what are the future college degrees that are actually needed and the employment needs of those college degrees, and align that more with what we're doing. And so I won't take the provost thunder in terms of what kinds of degrees we're going to be looking at, but research helps support what exactly are the needs in the community so that we provide and align the most appropriate programs with those needs. And then our third area, and I'll come back to research as number one at the end, is that we actually have planning for a university research park. And those of you who are new, we're a part of the Association of University Research Parks. It's an international organization of over 700 university research parks that are helping each other, and ours is in that planning park stage, phase 0 actually, because we don't have it yet. And how can we actually develop that? And Under number 2, these are the collaborative organizations that we're working with. Killeen Chamber of Commerce, 14 Forward, a group of individuals, business individuals that put $2 million in place with 3 of their specific programs that they want to help this area, and one of those is actually creating a university research park at our campus, and we're very fortunate to have them working with us. The Army OTC, Operational Test Command in Fort Hood, and others helping us. So the question continues to come up, where are we going to put it? And so those of you who are online, you can see the picture there with us who are here physically, is right now we're looking at 2 primary spots, the northwest side and the northeast side, and both have pros and cons on where we can put it. And I keep saying, well, let's just do both because we want a research park as a major part of the campus. And now I'm going to go to our primary areas under the Office of Research and Economic Development, and that's our research programs. So we have our Faculty Scholarship and Research Committee, and that is comprised of both faculty and staff to help us guide all of the research that is done by the university and in collaboration with our partners. And also have those networks that we can have for grants and contracts. Because until this last year, 2019, all of our federal dollars have been in collaboration with others as a subcontractor. So 8 years ago, we got our first external grant, period. 4 years ago, we got our first federal grant, but it was a subcontract. And last year, we got our first federal dollars coming in where we were the lead agent, our agency. And the last part under these first 3, before I turn it over to Dr. Murphy, who is our Executive Director for Research and Sponsored Programs, is our export control and international travel. And he's going to talk a little bit about research compliance, and as he comes on up and switches over to his area, I'm going to talk a little bit, go ahead and set it up, Walter. I'm going to talk about something I haven't talked about before in a convocation, and that's to give perspective on research compliance. And in the last few years, unfortunately, as the institutional officer of research compliance, I have to reach out to individuals and ask questions that you may not like. And if I don't ask those questions, we don't know. And yes, I've ruffled feathers. And unfortunately, I'm the person that has to ask those questions. It's not that I'm trying to intervene. I'm trying to clarify. And I've been at 5 universities and 3 systems, and I can tell you the Texas A&M University system is a wonderful system to work with. The flip side of that, they are the most conservative research compliance system that I've ever worked with. And let me give you some more perspective. The Texas A&M system for research compliance actually has greater and more in-depth research requirements than the federal government regulations. And I'll give you an example. So those of you who are coming from other universities or have experience in other areas, you might be asking, Russ, why are you asking me this question? I've never even seen this question before. Well, quite frankly, I've never even seen the question either, but I'm the person that has to ask it. And I can give you an example, and those of you on the IRB membership know this. I am not in favor of it, but I have to carry it out. Our students cannot be principal investigators when it comes to human subjects. Can they be principal investigators in areas that are not human subjects? The answer is yes. But the system has told us that we cannot have our students as principal investigators. And so that is part of the Texas A&M system that we have to abide by, even though we may not agree with it. So we'll work through those issues. I'll let you know about those issues, and no, I don't always agree with them, but we still have to carry it out. So if you get a question from me, I'll try to tell you why, and sometimes it's based on a time-sensitive issue, and we'll work it through. So, on a better note, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Walter Murphy to tell you a little more about research compliance and export control.
Thank you, Russ. Couple of things that I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about some export control things. I'm going to talk a little bit about research compliance, and I'm going to talk a little bit about grants and contracts. So one thing I wanted to mention, for those of you that are new and for some of you that are here but may not know, as part of the Canvas system, we have an Office of Research Canvas community. We have a lot of information on there. So frequently, if you have a question, you can check here and get the answer. But if you don't find the answer here or you're not sure where to find it, please feel free to get in touch with me. I'm very happy to answer any questions related to any of these kinds of issues. I will have a question for you, but I'm not going to make you answer. Unlike my class next week, I'm going to actually give you the answer. You may be wondering, why is there such a focus on export controls right now? Well, if you looked in the paper or you've watched the news on television or on the internet, you see there's a lot of focus on news stories about people from other countries, foreign scholars, foreign students, who are being either arrested or accused of stealing information from American universities, from American companies, and things like that. And so the system is responding to that. But in addition, I think most of you probably know, except maybe some of the new folks, the A&M system is now one of the organizations that oversees the Los Alamos National Laboratories. So as a result, both of that increased scrutiny needed just to sort of keep everyone's research and materials and things safe, but also to help us to be better stewards of information and research security, the system has decided to be a lot more strict. So in addition to what they're being strict about in terms of human research, they're also being strict about a lot of other things. And export control has come down as something that they're more strict about. Dr. Porter just mentioned our System Office of Research Compliance, which oversees a lot of things and actually used to oversee export controls. Now we actually have a separate office called the System Office of Research Security, which specifically oversees research control. And Mr. Lutz and a number of other people here have worked with them on some of the different things that are important for keeping our research safe. So one of the ways that they've tried to make it easier for us, though, is they've created, with representatives from each of the university, and for our university it's me, an export control affinity group that meets 3 or 4 times a year and also does trainings and has access to a lot of information about export control. So I'm going next week for the next one of those affinity group meetings. And fortunately, it's about foreign travel. And so many of you have traveled to other countries. And I know that those of you who have traveled to other countries have wondered, why do we have this really complicated, detailed, very picky form about export controls? Well, what I'm going to try to do with the group next week is figure out how can we simplify that or get more of those things to be part of what you're doing anyway in Concur. So I'm hoping that this group meeting next week, I've actually sent them our form and said, we don't like our form, it's too complicated, people complain about it. What are other people doing? And we're gonna try to work out what is a better way to get that information without burdening you with all this extra work that we have for you right now. So hopefully that'll work out. In terms of that form though, if you've been trying to fill it out and you're not exactly sure how to do it, we've got some guidance sheets. This first one, so here's this export control section. This first one, guidance for completing the form, the export control checklist, has sort of question by question things like suggested answers or if you're doing this, this is what you want to do. And they also have another one with a general overview of export control and foreign travel that's based on what the system has asked us to do. Recently, I think it was in the fall or the summer of last year, they added an additional course to the courses you already had to do to qualify through Concur and export control. And so they very periodically do things like that, but trying to keep us aware of all the things going on at the system. So that's the stuff for export control. Second thing is for research compliance, and the sort of major components of our research compliance are our research compliance ethics committees. And Dr. Porter mentioned the Institutional Review Board, or IRB, that oversees human research. We mentioned last time that we're working on taking our existing handbook, which is long and complicated, and making it into SOPs instead, so you can click on the specific SOP that relates to what you're interested in. Unfortunately, there are over 60 SOPs, so we're more than 2/3 of the way through our IRB looking at those, and they've actually approved just over a quarter of those. So we still have a little ways to go in terms of getting all the SOPs in place, but hopefully that'll be a little bit easier to deal with as well. Let's see. Okay, on the Canvas page in relation to the IRB, one thing that people have asked for is, how do I figure out, do I need to do an IRB? And so we've got a listing now here under Institutional Review Board with a link to the Office of Human Research Protection's decision charts. And the very first one, you can click to open it, and it will give you a series of questions on a flow chart to help you decide, do I need to even look at what IRB does, or is my research not really human research as defined by the federal government? And fortunately in there, the system does sort of follow along with the decision charts. Now, if you are doing research that involves humans or biospecimens, or that's parts of humans or anything like that, or fluids, you definitely want to check this, but also feel free to ask us questions so that we can have an idea and maybe advise you, or at least be aware that you're working on something, so we don't get a question where someone comes to us and says, I heard that Professor so-and-so was doing this, or we're looking at this in my class, is that something we're supposed to be doing human subjects for? So for example, my research class has to fill out an IRB form as an exercise, but some research classes actually do research, and it's not an exercise for them. They have to actually go through the whole form. So that's one thing that hopefully these decision charts and some of the other materials here will be helpful for you. The second is, and hopefully you, those of you that this is relevant to are aware of this, we've now started an institutional biosafety committee with Dr. Julie Cresta as the chair. And that's for research that involves, for example, people doing studies of blood, or people using recombinant DNA or things like that. And we've completed the first step in getting that involved, which is biosafety level 1. Biosafety level 2, which is the one that involves blood and other kinds of things like that, we're going to start working on so that people interested in that kind of research will be able to do that. 3 and 4, things like Ebola, we're not going to be doing that anytime soon here, so don't worry about that, but also it means that you probably won't have any opportunities, if you're interested in those areas, to do that kind of work here. In terms of the IBC, we also have some information. So if you're wondering, well, I want to do a study that involves saliva, does that have to be something that the IBC, which Institutional Biosafety Committee, looks at? And then, so I've got a place where you can click to see, is it necessary for the IBC to look at my research? By the way, this is regular research. This is not something you do in class, although there are sometimes things in class that might be relevant. If you were doing a study of blood in a class, you would have to go through the IBC, even though it's a class exercise, because it brings it up a level in terms of biosafety, since blood is considered to be sort of a pathogen. Let's see. Finally, for those of you that are wondering, there is a third committee. Right now, we're developing the rule for that committee. That's the Animal Use Committee, or IACUC. We're not planning on any studies with animals because it's much more complicated and involves lots of expenses for things like animal care labs and people to oversee those and things like that. But it is something that we're getting ready in case at some point people do want to do that kind of research. We want to have the structures in place. So that's our third committee, but again, that committee's not, it's available for us, and Dr. Weiser Erlandson will be the chair of that. She's the one kind of overseeing it, but at least for now. So we don't have any plans, though, for that kind of research. So if you are planning to bring some animals to campus to do studies on, talk to Dr. Weiser Erlandson, but don't do it. So, okay. Finally, in terms of grants and contracts, got another, try to have something for all the different areas on our Canvas page. Dr. Porter mentioned our big contract with the Air Force Research Lab and Department of Homeland Security. In addition, we have 2 more federal grants that were submitted just in the fall, and we're really excited about those and hope that they'll be funded as well. On our Canvas page, we have all kinds of information. So where it's the one that says Grants, Finding, Funding, Presentation, S. McLean, we had the Senior Grants Administrator from West Texas come last spring and give a presentation. And so the information from his presentation is there if you want to look at it. But definitely feel free to contact us if you're thinking about applying for grants and want to know where to get started. We also have contracted with Sponsored Research Services at the A&M system for them to help you. So once you get started, once you've identified an agency or a grant that you want to apply for, they can help you basically through all the steps to the point where you get submitted. And in addition, if it has to be submitted organizationally, we don't have any offices here to do that, so they do that for us as well. So they're very helpful. Everyone who's submitted through them has told me how much they feel that they're really doing a great job and are very informational and very helpful in terms of getting that stuff set. Finally, some of you that applied for federal grants have come to me and said, well, where do we get this information? They want to know about the number of students on campus and things like that. One of the things here where it says A&M System Facts 2019, that's last year, that's the most recent thing we have. That's information about all the different schools in the A&M system, and it gives information about our school, our research funding, number of students, and things like that. So this is the place to look, and as I get new information, I'll put it in whatever the relevant sections are here. Okay, any questions? Nope, okay. Turn it back over to Dr. Porter to turn over to Dr. Salazar. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Murphy. And so he already went over number 4, 5, and 6 for us. And we also have, under the Texas A&M Engineering Experiment Station, we have a Central Texas Regional Director, Dr. Taylor Harvey, and we just, as I indicated, had a meeting with TEAS the other day, and some new initiatives coming out of that. Our only university center for research is called the University Center for Applied Research and Engagement, or UCARE, and it's led by Dr. Dalila Salazar. And she's going to come on up, talk just a few minutes about UCARE and what is on every other chair, our new light. And the way I describe this is when we did our original light that came out, the research brochure, Russ Porter's DOS brain had a very simplistic oriented type of brochure, and I'm going to introduce you to the Windows brain of the light. So here we go.
Good morning. How is everybody doing today? I am very excited to be up here because I get to talk to you about two things that are some of my favorite things to talk about in this entire world. So I'm incredibly delighted to first introduce this light brochure that you have every other chair. You've already been perusing through it, and I wanted to take some time to explain it to you. This brochure is intended to highlight all of the amazing things that are taking place on our campus. We have some amazing scholarship that comes through our doors and that exists within our campus, and it's a lovely way to be able to highlight some of these things that are happening, because we can't come up to speed with everything that everybody is doing, but we certainly can highlight some of the amazing things that are happening. So I know Dr. Murphy mentioned the individuals that form part of the Office of Research. If you turn to the second actual physical tangible page of the booklet, you'll see an Office of Research and Economic Development listing with all of the points of contact for you in case you do need to reach any of them. I want to take a moment to thank the editorial board that worked on this tirelessly to try to get this to come to fruition. That consists of Dr. Russell Porter as the editor. I'm the managing editor and the department editor for the College of Business Administration. Dr. Walter Murphy is a department editor for the College of Education. Dr. Taylor Harvey is the department editor for the College of Arts and Sciences. Miss Audrey Cisneros is a rhetorician out of the University of Texas at El Paso, and she's an external copy editor. Mr. Elvis Ochoa, who just step back in, is our design editor, and he works for Centex Technologies and is one of our alums. And Miss Latrice Frederick is a proofreader, and Miss Tatiana Qualls is also a proofreader for us. So as you go through this and you take a look at some of the stories coming from each one of our colleges, and Dr. Fry, we do have something for you, right? The provost just wanted to save it for right now. But as you go through this and you take a look at this, we really encourage you to read through the stories and become familiarized with the things that your colleagues are doing. And more than just that, also think of ways that you can collaborate with one another, not just within your own disciplines, but interdisciplinarily. I think that that's a really beautiful venture that can potentially arise from this. In addition to thanking the editorial boards and everybody that's actually a part of this initial version, I would like to take a moment to thank our sponsors, because without them, it wouldn't have actually happened. So the Fort Hood National Bank, the ICCPA, which is the International Cognitive Care Providers Association, of course, each one of our colleges within our university. Spectrum Printing was the entity that printed this for us, and they're a sponsor as well. Centex Technologies, Miss Lena K. Carey, and the Office of Research and Economic Development, and UCARE. So hopefully you like this. As we move forward, we expect for this to only get better. If if you have suggestions, we welcome them. Be kind to us. This is a very first version, so if you see something that needs to change up, it'll change up. We also anticipate having a digital version of this so that it could be made available through our online platforms. The second thing that I want to talk about is UCare. So for those of you that are not familiar with UCare, UCare is a University Center for Applied Research and Engagement. And I stand on the shoulders of giants when I say that this was started by some really amazing people. They've done some really amazing projects up to this point. And when I became director, I had so many contacts already developed as a result of the connections that were made. But UCare is the center dedicated to pairing subject matter experts, i.e. our faculty members and our staff members that have subject matter expertise alongside graduate students, and those collaborators work together with community partners in bringing some research insight to a research question that organization might have. So it's a really phenomenal platform for being able to extend networks, to develop research projects, to then work on research papers as a result of the actual projects themselves. And so if you are a faculty member and you're interested in becoming a faculty fellow, I encourage you get in contact with me so that we can talk about how it is that we can get you involved. If you're a graduate student and you're interested in doing research and developing yourself in ways that are going to be beneficial for your resume and competitively advantageous, contact me. And if you're a community partner that needs research done, we have a center that does this. And it's amazing because we do it at a fraction of the cost that you would be paying a marketing firm or a research firm specifically to do any of these projects. And the beautiful thing is that each and every college contributes. We're currently working on an economic impact analysis. We're working on strategic planning. We're also doing a solar adoption project. And so it spans all of the colleges. We have researchers working from the College of Arts and Sciences, the College of Education, as well as the College of Business Administration on projects right now. So if you're interested in finding out more about UCare and/or the Light or contributing to any of these ventures, I'd be more than happy to speak with you about it. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Salazar, and your wonderful passion. The last piece here is our new federal contract that we received from Department of Homeland Security and the United States Air Force, and a $4.2 million cybersecurity contract that is utilizing the resources of our scanning electron microscope that came out of previous research as well. If you haven't seen our scanning electron microscope, it's in Founders Hall 411, and Dr. Tarabi or Dr. Beck are always there in the lab helping other individuals do research. And so it's a wonderful piece of microscope, and 4 other pieces that I won't even go into because of time. We're getting late on time here, but in terms of one of the only places in the entire world, there's only 4 of them that are actually created the way that it's created, and it does go to 1 million magnification. If you remember your little microscopes when you're doing bio and chem and all that in high school and college, and we got up to 100, woo, and it goes to 1 million. So two last statements. Thoughts for the semester. True reconciliation does not consist in merely forgetting the past, as told to us by Nelson Mandela. And there are many ways of going forward, but only one way of standing still, by Franklin Roosevelt. So on behalf of the Office in Research and Economic Development, have a great semester. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Porter. I want to give you just a couple of administrative changes that have happened over the last 3 months in academic and student affairs. First one is in regard to the Department of Accounting, Finance, and Economics. Unfortunately, sadly, Dr. Kolk has left us, and Dr. Loafman will serve as interim chair of accounting, finance, and economics until we can come up with a new chairperson for the department. In the Department of Curriculum and Instruction, one of the things, it's probably been 7 years now since we formed departments and departmental chairs. And our original formation departments was the idea we're going to have departments of at least 8, preferably 10 or more faculty. And as we have changed over time and our programs increase or decrease in size, several of our programs have a small number of faculty. And Dr. Cood, in an effort to be a little more fiscally responsible and to get faculty back into the classroom, she has combined the Department of Curriculum and Instruction and the Department of Educational Leadership and Human Development. They're not combined, they're still 2 separate departments, but they'll be under one departmental chairperson, and Dr. Morgan Lewing will serve as the chairperson for both of those. And I want to take a moment to extend appreciation to Dr. Shelley Harris, who came in as a brand new faculty member, took over curriculum and instruction as a brand new faculty member, and she is a superb researcher and teacher, and it'd be great to have her be able to devote some more of her time into the classroom. And then finally, I'm very sad to say that my boss, Dr. Katie Sanders, has accepted a new position and will be leaving us at the end of this month. And so Dean Jones is going to serve as interim chairperson of the Department of Nursing. So you're my boss, sir, and you have to come in and evaluate me this semester in the classroom. And of course, we will be doing a search for a new chair for the department. All right, I'd like to turn the podium over to Dr. Alan Redmond to talk about the grants available with a quality enhancement plan.
I promised a fancy slide and I didn't deliver, but thank you for that. Because that's fantastic. I'm here to give you fancy dollars. Like, I want to give y'all money. The QEP Implementation Committee wants to give you money for the things that you are doing already in your classes to enhance writing on our campus. And so very quickly, I want to name 3 ways that we're trying to do this. The first is through the Writing Instructive, I guess now, grant. The way the WI grant was initially talked about, it was about creating a WI class. That's not how we're talking about it anymore. We talk about it as a WI enhancement. So those of you who are trying to solve the problems that your students face as writers in a WI class are able to apply for a WI grant. And you're going to get a grant to do the work that you're going to be doing anyway as you try to solve problems with your students, knowing where to start, how to write, how to frame questions and find answers, how to use sources. These are the kinds of things that we're already doing, so apply for a WI grant and we'll be able to recognize the work that you're doing and give you opportunity to be intentional and reflective on that. The second grant is a high impact grant. Again, these are the things that we're already doing. I had to write some of these down and I can't read my own writing, so it's not going to help at all. But several programs have created early seminars, like social science as a social science seminar. That's a high impact practice. Several of us are creating learning communities, collaborative projects, service learning, e-portfolios, internships, capstone courses. Like, all of these kinds of things are recognized as high impact practices. So if you are doing those, and if you are finding ways to bring writing into the classroom to help students negotiate course content, to have more meaningful collaborations, or to reflect on the things that they're learning, then you're doing the kinds of things that the high impact grant will recognize. So please write to us and let us give you some money. The third grant opportunity is through the Writing Advocates. It's a little bit different. This is not something you're already doing. There's six sessions across the spring and fall semester. Directed by Bruce Bowles. It's a great opportunity to think about the best practices in writing and to think about writing as something other than academic writing in many cases, and ways to take the kinds of writing that you're doing and to think about them in ways that folks are thinking about those things. The slots were full for this year. There might be as many as 2 slots open. Katie was going to be one of our writing advocates, so she's not sticking around for that. I don't understand. So we have at least one slot open for writing advocate. So if you're interested in really spending some time thinking about, spending some time with other folks in other disciplines for how to bring writing instruction in your classroom in new and improved ways, talk with me or with Bruce Bowles, either one of us. But we're trying to give money away, so we're the one unit here today offering you dollars. So please take us up on either the Writing Instructive Grant, the High Impact Practice, or if you're interested in the Writing Advocate, either for this year or even starting next spring, let us know. And I just want to say we appreciate the significant contribution the university has made to see that we're not just talking about quality enhancement in terms of building a community of writers, but actually putting dollars behind it. And so please help us spend those dollars wisely and well. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Redmond. I'd now like to have Clifton Jones come up to talk about enrollment management.
Good morning. Just briefly wanted to talk about some new technologies that we've implemented to share information and get information out to prospective students and continuing students. These both were implemented in the last 2 months, including over the Christmas holiday. We were busy. The first is SMS messaging, which is texting functionality partnered or powered by Mongoose Cadence software. Yes, that is the real name of the company. And it integrates with our current client relationship management system perfectly. And so over the next couple of months, we will be integrating that into our comm plans for prospective students. We have been using this the last month to communicate via text with students for the first time and have had significant responses, and it helps us diversify the communication channels as some students check emails, some don't, most don't. So text messaging is a better avenue in many cases, particularly for the younger generations that are attending now. The second is a product called Transferology. This product is an interactive resource for students, faculty, high school counselors, community college advisors to have access to our over 46,000 course equivalencies here at A&M Central Texas. It is a foundation product for a new transfer initiative we hope to roll out this spring, but it puts our course equivalencies in a national platform that allows students to search where their courses can transfer to, as they are now a much more mobile population than they historically have been. We went live on Tuesday, and we have already begun receiving requests from out-of-state students who are relocating to Central Texas about their coursework. One benefit of this is that it actually tells us if they search for a course that we do not have an equivalent for, it says, hey, this person searched this, and it triggers our workflows that then goes through TES, which you're already using to do course equivalency evaluations, so we can get those done quickly and then respond to the student in a timely manner and engage them as a recruit. So we're excited about that opportunity. We've actually already introduced this to the Clean ISD high school counselors as they work with dual credit and early college high school students. The second thing is, right before the fall semester, we made some changes and moved some stuff around, and we established the office, or the Department of Enrollment Marketing and Communications. That department houses is responsible for a number of things, including of providing marketing and communication support for academic and student affairs, but it also oversees the university's website, university social media, digital signage, and then supporting and working collaboratively with the Communication and Advancement Office on special projects. We implemented a request system that many are using now called Workfront, accessible through the MyCT platform. Because it is now being utilized so much, we do have a small team, and so we do ask that if you could, please remember about advance notice as much time as possible. So if you're planning a conference or large-scale projects, you're going to need a lot of design work or multi-platform, whether it be digital media, video, things like that, that we get advance notice as much as possible. It'll help us plan, as we have a team of 4 staff members, Ralph Gower, coordinator of web initiatives, Sierra Tyler, who works as a web designer, Jason Arena as an administrative associate in graphic design, and Chris Proven, who is the marketing manager. So Definitely advance notice is helpful as we've had a significant increase in requests over the last month and a half since the system went live. The other thing is we have a lot of projects going on right now. We have actually 2 projects consisting of 48 design elements that were requested, and some are contracted through third-party vendors. As you get requests on these projects to review proofs and edits, if you could do that as quickly as possible and as thoroughly as possible, we definitely appreciate it. Some of our contracts are limited when we do these to 2 rounds of reviews and a final draft, so we want to make sure we take advantage of those as quickly as possible. And then, oh, that's right here. The other thing is, just wanted to give the university an update on some things happening with the web, which is always a fun topic. Some of the less interesting things are about some changes we're making for security purposes and quality of service, and we are moving our servers from the A&M System Data Center to a third-party vendor that is used by other A&M schools in the system. A little less interesting, but it is more secure. It does provide extra services that we do not currently provide and will help alleviate some of the pressures on IT with regarding to having to maintain an additional server. The other thing is we've decided to move off of our current content management system, which is Cascade, and move to a more more open source platform in order to save the institution approximately $33,000 a year. It also opens the door for us to recruit new talent that utilizes or that can write language that is utilized by CMSs that are not as complex as the one we are currently using. The key here is as you hear about the website change or the website moving from members of the Web Advisory Committee or people talking, we want to reassure everyone that with this migration, there is no change to current data, no change to current URLs, or any end user interface that currently exists. So we just want to make sure and reassure everyone that as we make these migrations, it's business as usual. You should not see any change in how the website looks or operates. Now, we recently went through program page redesigns. All the academic units or departments and programs got a facelift, basically, moving into this academic year. We are going through a process, and we are in the initial planning phases of redesigning the university's homepage to make it more effective in telling the institution's story. So the Web Advisory Committee came up with our 3 primary focus groups, which are, of course, prospective students, prospective faculty and staff, and then the community stakeholders, our donors, our supporters. And how are we telling our story and what we're accomplishing to the public, and encouraging students that this is the right place for them to attend. So we'll be having a number of open forum opportunities for people to provide or give insight into it. We've already had some of those occur with students. We've gotten feedback and then data analytics to guide that conversation. But again, just wanted to reiterate that no data, no URLs will be modified as we make these changes. And then we will be picking up with the enrollment management Wednesday workshops that we offered last spring. We will do that again. So I would encourage everyone to attend. Those are oftentimes really good opportunities for you to engage and have questions and answered from expertise, not me, Hannah, Josh, and those that work in the departments within enrollment management.
How many of you have heard of Yale University? Texas A&M University? Tarleton State University? Lycoming College? Southern New Hampshire University? I'm listing these because if you take a look at what's happening in higher education today, there is a thought that small private liberal arts universities, by at least 100, will be closing their doors due to enrollment management crises. They're not bringing enough students. The Yales and the Texas A&M University systems will probably never have any difficulty with enrollment because of their name brand, their alumni base, their very, very strong foundation. The regional universities are probably okay, but we're going to have to work very hard. But I mentioned Southern New Hampshire University. The reason I did is because just today in the daily briefs at the Chronicle of Higher Education, it's under quick hits. File this under fierce competition for students. The mammoth Southern New Hampshire University has signed an agreement that will allow graduates of Pennsylvania's community colleges to transfer and earn their baccalaureate degrees. They have cut their prices. They've arranged under the table contract with every single one of the 14 community colleges in Pennsylvania. Mind you, they have a great state system of baccalaureate programs and regional universities, to cut their tuition so it's half the price of the Pennsylvania system and allow transfer of seamless transfer up to 90 credit hours so they can complete their baccalaureate degrees online seamlessly at less than half the cost. Southern New Hampshire University is a private college. It's very small, but they have really become one of what I call the gargantuan universities that's predicted to take up a huge percentage of students. I bring this up because while as a regional university, we are in good shape, it's very hard sometimes to compete with these large conglomerates. I'm going to call it a conglomerate now that has just a gazillion-dollar budget for marketing and TV ads and bringing students in and undercutting price. So how do we address this? Some of the things that Clifton has done in enrollment management have been absolutely outstanding. Our faculty working with our 2-year degree plans, the students know what courses are available and when to take them. How we interact with students in our offices. You know, I don't know about you, but when I get put on hold, I count 30 seconds. If I'm still on hold, I'm gone. We have a very short tolerance for things. So how are we interacting with our students? You know, how quickly do we serve them? If we don't know the answer, do we say, let me walk you down to this office and help you out? How often are we proactive in saying to students, oh my goodness, this student has 15 holds and one is for a $5 parking ticket that they got. What can we do to get rid of some of those barriers that will keep our students here? Because to tell you the truth, I really don't want Southern New Hampshire University coming and arranging with our community colleges to undercut our salaries. Now, I will tell you, our tuition is still less than the special tuition that Southern New Hampshire University has given to the Pennsylvania community colleges. But we're going to have to watch this. And enrollment management, while we have a department of enrollment management, it's everybody's responsibility. Enough said. Sorry about that. It's always shocking just to read the Chronicles sometimes. All right, I'd like to have Dr. Bonkowski come up to talk about the Faculty Center for Teaching and Learning.
Very much. As you can see, all this stuff is just contact me, but there are a couple of things coming up. One of those, and I'm looking around for Dr. Mogadesian. Ah, there she is. Okay, everybody look back. There she is. She is our new Quality Matters trainer, instructor, and she has a session of online Quality Matters training and applying the QM rubric coming up, and there are limited seats. So if you want to get in on that, please send me an email and I will enroll you in her course. So this is, well, it gets you the basic understanding of the Quality Matters rubric in a 2-week online session. It also is the first of the 2 courses you need if you want to be a certified peer reviewer for Quality Matters. So I think, looking for the College of Business Administration folks, you all in particular are encouraged to do the QM courses. And if you are new to the institution or you haven't yet taken the training to teach online, if you take this one, I waive the FCTL 104 course, Teaching Online. You still have to do the Canvas training, but this gets you out of the Teaching Online course that we offer. So it's really important, and I would encourage you all at some point to take this, and there will be future offerings, but this is the first one where we have our own person leading the training. So please reach out to me and I'll put you in there, and 10 seats, so it's limited. The other thing I wanted to talk about is starting here in the next week or two, we will be running a learning community for the Scholarship of Teaching and Learning. We did one of these a couple of years ago, but the main focus this time around is on publication of your research. So it'll probably run at least a year. It takes a while to go through the IRB process and then to collect your data and then to do some peer review here. I have something that I'm working on myself, but again, I want this to be limited, so I've got about 6 seats open in this learning community. So if you want to get involved with this, especially if you are new to the institution or new-ish, this is something that helps out with promotion and tenure also. This is a legitimate research line. So reach out to me and I'll put you in the learning community. And we have a bunch of other things going on, so check out the Faculty Center for Teaching and Learning community in Canvas, and you can see some of the other things that are happening. And if you don't have access to that, reach out to me and I'll make sure that you're enrolled. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Bukowski. Forgive me, Paul and Jeff, I'm going to, for the sake of time, I'm going to skip this, but I do want to let you know that Paul has pulled together an outstanding website on institutional research and assessment. If you're interested in the link, Paul can send it to you, and it has all the resources you need. I've just listed some of the things you'll be able to find on it. All right, before I turn the podium over to President Igliazzo, we have Mr. Davis wanted to come up as Chief Diversity Officer and talk about a diversity initiative. So, Mr. Davis.
Good morning, all. Our institution and CTC will be jointly sponsoring the biannual African American Lecture Series program here on February the 27th. One of the things that we're doing in honor and celebration of this event is we're developing a commemorative poster in which we plan to share with people who attend on that date. That poster will be designed around the names of prominent African American people from the past and the present time. We would like for each of you, when you receive a survey link from us, to submit to us 3 names of prominent African American individuals that you personally resonate with, and we will attempt to include those names on that commemorative poster. So when you receive it in a day or two, if you would please respond, we would appreciate it. Thank you again for all you do to help make us a very inclusive and supporting institution for all. Have a fantastic new year, and I told you I was going to be brief.
And then Dr. Close wanted to speak specifically about news media.
Good morning, everybody. Okay, a lot of y'all don't know this about me, but I've spent time in the classroom for about 30 years, and I've been looking around, and you guys have a serious case of the wiggly butt. You keep shifting around like this. So I'm going to talk really quick. 2 things to say. I have had the pleasure of serving this institution as the Chief Communications Officer now for a little over 2 years. And when I started doing this, it was really scary. First of all, it was scary because I had to convince the president I could do it and then do that every day for the next 24 months and still do that every day. But the other reason why it was scary is because nobody knew much about us. Would you agree? Do you think that's changed? We have had hundreds of newspaper stories, videos, television ads, television stories. It has been incredible. And I don't say that to put the spotlight on myself. I want to do exactly the opposite. The reason why those stories have been so successful is because of every one of you that when I've reached out to you, like Brandon and Paul and Dr. Nog and Dr. Kohler and Dr. Davis, and oh my goodness, I could go on, but the provost won't let me. When I call you at the last minute and tell you, hey, somebody from KXXV has just hopped in their little truck and they're coming over and they want to do a story about, you know, and it can be something completely esoteric. The fact that they jump in their truck and come over is because they know that we have faculty and staff here who can speak so elegantly on any given topic at a moment's notice. I could not do my job as communications officer without you. So I want to say thank you. The fact that those stories have been so successful is not my credit, it's a credit to all of you. So thank you. Following up on that, we have a new contract with KXXV, and we are going to be doing a new feature called Warrior Wednesday. Every Wednesday, members of our faculty and staff across the campus and our students, without exception, are going to have the opportunity to go on Channel 25 at the middle of the day during a feature they call Central Texas Living, and we're going to call that Warrior Wednesday. So if you have wanted an opportunity to promote, like Bridget, we were talking about yesterday in the library, the intro stuff you're doing, no matter what it is you have going on in your area, please let me know. I have already pegged Dr. Dalila. Yes? She's going to be first in the chute, but I'm going to need about 50 other people because we're going to be doing this all the way up until October, and it's every Wednesday. So if there are things happening in your programs, in your areas, in your research, among your students, across the university, please let me know. Even if you think you're not camera ready, it doesn't have to be you. It can be anybody from your area, or it can be myself, or it can be your dean. Please let me know what it is you'd like to get some attention on, and we will get attention on it. And thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Close, and it's my distinct honor to turn the podium over to President Mark Nigliazzo.
Thank you, Peg. In case you're worried about whether I'm going to give you the full 30 minutes, I'm not. In fact, I'll try, if we can, to stay within the time limit that we set. Anyway, this morning I ended up about 4:30 with my little dog landing in the middle of my chest. And as she was slurping on my ears, she whispered, "I recommend you not use all those boring slides again this year." I really think I heard that this morning. Then she settled down between my legs and went to sleep. In all seriousness, folks, we're entering 2020. You know, that's supposed to be perfect vision, right? You all know it's a cloudy view out there right now, and I'm not just talking about education. As we look at the world, as we look at our country, as we look at our state, look at our communities, and as we look at this university. 2020 is going to be a critical year. We just don't know exactly how as we go forward. Our role, our responsibility, yours and mine, is this university and how we move it forward and how we try to ensure its success. But keep remembering this. It's not because we want to be able to say we're a successful university. Because if we're a success, what does that ultimately mean? Our students are going to be a success. Our students are going to get an opportunity that maybe they never thought they were going to have. They're going to get an opportunity to complete a degree. They're going to get an opportunity, hopefully, to do something in their lives that they always wanted to do or maybe never thought of doing. Because we're here and we're doing the work that we do. Now, there are a lot of very positive things happening. You've heard about research parks. I've been spending a good bit of time to do my best with Austin Community College to try to open some new pathways there, because you know the size of that place. And there is a strong interest there. And we have a new campus of ACC that's sitting over in Leander that is a very close drive to us. And it just so happens a former student of mine at Galveston College, who was a pretty good baseball player, is now the director of student affairs over there and has a very strong interest in having a relationship with us. There are going to be things that we will have to do. There are going to be strategies that we will have to put in place as we get ready to go through 2020. A little less than a year from now, we're going to be talking legislative session again. And yes, we're going to face the same challenges that we have faced in previous legislative sessions. Yes, there's going to be an issue about what happens with non-formula funding, which is what a good part of our funding is made up of. It isn't driven by any formula. It was provided originally to build this university. In the last legislative session, we got its title changed to upper level university funding so that we could hopefully make a better case for ourselves. But ultimately, it's still going to be out there, and the challenge will still be there. And what about the challenge of what we call formula funding? What is that driven by? That's driven by students enrolling and generating semester credit hours. And we get that counted every other year in what is called a base year. Our base year begins March the 1st. Our first semester in that base year will be the second 8 weeks of this spring. And it will run through the spring semester next year in 2021. Folks, we have got to move the needle, the enrollment needle. And I could have thrown a big slide. In fact, I have it over there if you'd like to see it. I could have thrown a big slide up here that said, announce the enrollment crisis, which is an article, actually a whole study that came out of the Chronicle of Higher Education this last week on the crisis in enrollment. Population decline in numbers of potential students. We're going to fall off a cliff in 2025. It's going to have this impact. It's going to have that impact. And maybe there's some accuracy in all of that, but folks, it's still going to come back to us. What do we do? How do we do it? How do we address the needs of our students? How do we attract them? I am very encouraged by all the things that Clifton brought up earlier. And by the fact that just in the last week, we've been able to push the needle up a little bit in enrollment. We're still down about 4% in semester credit hours this semester. But there is movement, and some of that is because we are directly engaging those students and trying to make sure that they know there is an opportunity for them here. One of the things over many years of working with quote unquote non-traditional students, which are now becoming more traditional students, is that it doesn't take much to get them to stop out. They've got families, they've got jobs, they've got challenges of their own. Sometimes all it takes is a little encouragement. Sometimes it takes maybe a $500 scholarship to get them back on track. We're going to be asking those questions of what does it take? How do we address their needs? How do we encourage them to continue? How do we keep them moving on toward the goal that they set for themselves? We're attracting more and more younger students. That's a good thing. That will continue. But guys, our core has been that non-traditional older student. And I'm not convinced yet that they're just disappearing out there. But I think we're going through, as we always do, these periods of the fact that they simply move away from school for a while. And trying to find ways to get them back is part of the challenge. Now, there's some really smart people in this room. From those of you who are in the classroom to those of you who are interacting on a day-to-day basis with our students, everything that every one of you does is critical. It's critical to moving this institution forward by making it possible for this institution to continue to serve that student population that it said it would serve. I was going up the elevator yesterday morning, and one of our outstanding staff members stepped in with me, wished me a Happy New Year. I wished one back. And I said, "How are things going?" He said, "Oh, they're going well." And there was a little pause. And before we got to his floor, he said, just in these words, he said, "I love it." I said, "What?" He said, "I love it. I love this time of the year." He said, "I've got students waiting up in the office. They're concerned about whether they're going to be able to go to school this year. They're concerned about how they're going to pay for it. There's tension, yes, but there's also excitement. I love it." Guys, we've all got to find a way to love it. Because ultimately, it's about that student. You can be a brilliant professor. You can be an incredible staff member. But if your thought is not totally focused on that student, whether that student is learning, whether that student is engaged, whether that student has hope that he or she is going to continue to progress, we've got to be concerned about it. I'm confident that we are. I'm confident that we will continue to be. And I'm confident that we will continue to move this place and demonstrate what we set out to do, dealing with the student population that we said we would serve, that not only is it possible, it's possible for us to excel at doing it. Yes, you're going to hear all kinds of stories about the southern New Hampshires of the world. Who's making this strategy and who's making that strategy? But I tell you, as we go through this year, and as we gear up for the legislature, and as we get ready for the challenges that are out there, I'm going to keep hearing that individual say, "I love it." Somebody asked me not too long ago how many commencements I've been through in my career. I don't even remember anymore. A lot. 3 a year here. For 9 years, that's 27 plus 1, that's 28. And if I can make it to the end of this year, it'll be 30. Don't you get tired of that? every time, guys, I shake a student's hand and put that diploma in the other hand. You've heard me talk about trembling hands and sweaty hands and shaking hands, and it doesn't matter. Every time I do that, I know that's a person standing there who has a dream, who has a goal, and we just made it possible for them to take one more step forward toward that dream and that goal. And I love it. Let's have a great year, folks. You all have amazing capability. Don't lose sight of the focus on the student. Thank you. The other thing that they knew by giving me the short time of life, they have to take me over to Fort Hood for a meeting. Know anything about